This is a gift card to Alamo City Draft House, and this is my 3D printed gun. Unlike the Alamo City Draft House gift card,
this is actually worthless.
And it's a piece of trash. This actually has money on it, so, we can just leave that alone. But anyways, the point of this video is to test this, because I designed this in Onshape. The files are below, so if you want to mess up the files, or change the file, or do whatever you want, or make it an AR-15, that's great. But for now, this is just the basic file model that I made, and its basically purpose is to shoot things. All right, right here we got all our materials. Don't need the helmet, don't need that. But anyways, we got all our materials right there. And now we can start on the real assembly of the gun. So we're gonna basically be taking 2 of these thick rubber bands. We're just gonna double one up like that. And we're gonna put another one on the other side. And we're gonna launch it and see how far it goes. And we're gonna mark the distance somehow over there. All right, we're gonna start off with the cone tip. So the cone tip is gonna be like this. We have our double rubber bands right there. We'll load it in. Looks kind of sick like that. And then we're going to load it back. Wow, that literally sniped my camera. All right, this one literally went straight for the camera. Wow, did that break it? No. So we've got the 3 measurements for that. Show you the grouping. Got the grouping right there. Wow, very consistent. All right, after a bit of sanding, the ball is ready. And that will conclude our experiment. That has officially snapped off the entire thing. All right, at least we got 2 launches in. That's pretty insane. Look at that. That's elastic potential energy, or kinetic energy, combined. That is pretty insane. All right, let's go to the calculations. All right, this is the basic idea of what's behind the actual gun and all of the design that went behind it. And so we're gonna basically break that down a little bit today. And so basically we're gonna start with the launcher. So this is the main housing mechanism right here. And so if you look at this, you can see this is where the hammer is gonna go. And so I went through many different iterations. And so you can see these holes right here are made for the springs. So that way the springs are seated correctly for the latch. So this is in a work in progress. So right now I'm actually making a V4 where it is easier to pull the trigger, because right now it's pretty hard to pull the trigger because of the elastic force on the latch mechanism. And now we come to the trigger housing. This is a little bit more complicated, not too bad. So this is a modified version of the trigger housing from what I have right now, but basically it's the same way. So basically this is a trigger, so this is going to be the trigger hole right here, and this is going to be the spring holder right here. So basically the trigger is going to pull on the spring, which is going to be connected there, and that's how the trigger is going to stay locked in place. Next up, we have the hammer. The hammer is the mechanism that shoots the actual projectile in motion, and so this is going to shoot down the barrel at a fast speed. And these things right here, these things, I've designed them over and over again. I made them circle, I made them square, I beveled them, I gave them insane fillets, as you can see right there, and no matter what, they always manage to break. And I printed them with more and more walls, more and more infill. The one that broke was actually 100% infill. So you can't actually get much better than that. This is the trigger mechanism for the gun. So as you can see, this is where we're gonna put the spring. That way it stays locked in place, screw hole, and this is how it triggers the latch. So this little L shape right here, it's not the prettiest looking thing, but hey, if it works, it works. And then this is the latch mechanism right here. So basically this thing is rotating, and once it comes down, it keeps it in place. And it's a pretty simple design, but I kind of like it, not gonna lie. All right, now this is the assembly. So this is a little bit different version from what I have right now, but basically it's going to work the same exact way. So right now, as you can see, we have this trigger mechanism right here, right? And we can hide this version right here. And so this is actually reversed, but we can see that this is supposed to work like this. And basically what happens is as it's pushed back right here, it locks in because of this bevel, and it's going to lock in right there. And then after that, it's going to be locked in, and the way that it triggers it is by taking this trigger right here. It's going to push up on this latch, which rotates like that. Once it gets far low enough, then the elastic bands or the spring, whatever you want to put inside there, but I chose elastic bands for this. We're going to shoot this forward. This is going to go forward, and it's going to shoot the projectile forward like that. So that's the basic idea behind the CAD. So I'll have a lot of different things that I'd like to add. For example, this kind of like silencer looking thing. So this thing would help to steady the projectile trajectory, and so that would be quite useful in a future experiment. But these are just future experiment ideas. They're not ones that I was able to implement in this experiment. All right, for the last part of the video, we're basically gonna just go over the data. And so basically for the cone, which is the ballistic missile looking thing, we averaged about 164 inches or 13 2/3 feet. And that is pretty good, honestly, for the cone. And then for the 9mm, we covered about 173 inches average or 14.4 feet. Now with the first two, I'm gonna be honest, these are really scattered, which is not the greatest sign. I mean, it is a sign of experimental error. And one of the problems I noticed too was that the projectile was just like spinning around, which I think might have something to do with the fact that the barrel was not long enough. So maybe printing a bigger barrel, or maybe adding rifling, or maybe adding a little bit of weight in the front of the projectile itself would also have been helpful, but that's more for a different episode. And so basically, now we're gonna move on to the hollow point. And so this one is the best grouping, and it averaged 186 inches or 15.5 feet. So this happened to be the best grouping and also the furthest that it ever went. So that is a pretty good sign. And then for the ball bearing, which broke the actual gun on the second attempt, sorry, it averaged 92.5 inches, which is about 7.7 feet. That is granted, considering that it's moving a lot more mass than the actual other projectiles, because the other projectiles are made out of PETG, which is a pretty light plastic. I'd say that's a pretty good accomplishment, and I'd say some future experiments would include adding a longer barrel and also making sure that the projectiles have more weight in the front. That way they fall with more of a parabolic motion as compared to the spinning motion. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you enjoyed this demonstration, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. See ya.